What happens when a city's glamour meets a dark, unspeakable crime? Welcome to Los Angeles, the land of dreams, where anyone can come and make it big, or fall into a nightmare. But there's one case that has haunted this city for decades. One murder so brutal, so mysterious, that it would become more than just a crime story. It would become an enigma that would captivate millions across the globe. It's the story of Elizabeth Short, or as she's better known, the Black Dahlia. This case isn't just a tragedy, it's a symbol of the darkest side of Hollywood. A woman with starry-eyed dreams of fame, a body found in a field, and a killer whose identity remains a chilling mystery to this day. What makes this story so irresistible, so legendary? Why does it continue to haunt us after more than 70 years? Stick around as we dig deep into the mystery of the Black Dahlia, a case that remains unsolved, yet unforgettable. In the fall of 1946, Elizabeth Short, a young woman from Massachusetts, came to Los Angeles with dreams of stardom. She had dark, striking black hair and pale skin, a striking contrast against the bright lights of Hollywood. She wasn't the only one with big dreams. Hollywood was full of hopefuls trying to make it. But there was something about Elizabeth's allure that made her stand out. She wasn't just another actress hoping to land a role. She was a woman looking for validation in a city built on illusion and fame. But dreams don't always turn into reality, and for Elizabeth, the city of dreams would soon show its darker side. She struggled to find acting work and lived a life full of uncertainty. Her beauty, however, was undeniable, and she became known around town for her dark looks and her glamorous yet sad aura. Elizabeth had relationships with men who weren't always the best, but it was unclear if any of them played a role in the grim fate she would meet. In Hollywood, a city where people go to reinvent themselves, Elizabeth was trying to do just that. But the reality was much different than the glamorous image she had in mind. She wasn't an instant star, and she was left to fend for herself in a city that offered little for women trying to make it big. The morning of January 15, 1947, marked a turning point in Los Angeles' history, as the discovery of Elizabeth Short's dismembered body shocked the city to its core. Betty Bersinger, a mother out for a walk with her daughter in the quiet neighborhood of Leimert Park, stumbled upon something that seemed almost too surreal to be real. At first glance, she thought she had found a mannequin, carelessly discarded in an empty lot. But as she moved closer, the horror became unmistakable. What she was staring at was the lifeless, mutilated body of a young woman, Elizabeth Short. The scene was beyond chilling. The body had been severed neatly at the waist, its blood completely drained, and it had been meticulously cleaned. Whoever had committed the crime had gone to great lengths to ensure that there was no trace of evidence on the victim, making the discovery all the more disturbing. The killer hadn't simply discarded a body, they had staged it, leaving it in a pristine, almost clinical condition. But the most horrifying aspect of the crime was the ghastly smile carved into Elizabeth's face, her mouth slashed from ear to ear, a signature of brutality known as the Glasgow Smile. As the police arrived at the scene, it was immediately clear that they were not dealing with a typical murder. The careful nature of the dismemberment, the precision with which the body had been posed, and the grotesque nature of the smile all pointed to something far more sinister. This was not the act of a random killer. It was the work of someone who had carefully planned the murder, someone who wanted to make a statement. The violence wasn't just physical, it was deeply personal, almost artistic in its execution. The body wasn't just a victim of crime, it was a symbol, an object designed to provoke a reaction. The question that echoed in the minds of everyone who saw the crime scene, from the police officers to the public, was, what message was the killer trying to send? The meticulous nature of the crime suggested a deep intent, a purpose beyond simple violence. Was Elizabeth Short a victim of a personal vendetta, or was her body left as a warning? The unanswered questions only deepened the mystery and fueled the growing media frenzy that would later surround the case. This crime, so grotesque and carefully executed, would become an icon in true crime history, representing not only the grisly reality of Los Angeles' dark side, but also the chilling mystery that would never be solved. As news of the Black Dahlia murder broke, the media went into a frenzy. Newspapers scrambled to cover the story, and the Los Angeles Examiner and other tabloids began to sensationalize every detail of Elizabeth's life. Elizabeth Short wasn't just a victim. She became the focus of a media spectacle that would only add to the mystery. The press coined the nickname Black Dahlia, a reference to a 1946 film, The Blue Dahlia, and Elizabeth's striking dark appearance. The media eagerly fed the public's hunger for shocking stories, publishing fabricated details about her life, her supposed relationships, and even her sexual history. They turned Elizabeth into more than just a victim. They turned her into a symbol, a tragic figure who represented everything wrong with the world she had come to Hollywood to be a part of. But the media's role didn't stop there. They manipulated the truth, spreading rumors that would further tarnish Elizabeth's reputation. Some publications even fabricated stories about her life, suggesting she had been involved in unsavory affairs or engaged in illicit activities. The reality of Elizabeth's life was more complicated than the media was willing to admit, and the press was more concerned with selling newspapers than telling the truth. When the investigation into Elizabeth Short's murder began, the Los Angeles Police Department was confronted with a case that was far from ordinary. The brutality and precision of the crime left detectives with the chilling realization that this was not a typical murder. They were dealing with something far more complex and elusive. Over 50 suspects were interviewed, including both men and women, each offering possible leads. Some even confessed to the crime, but these confessions were either contradicted by evidence or quickly proven to be false. As a result, the investigation quickly became a maze of dead ends. Early on, detectives struggled to piece together a motive. Theories about the killer's identity began to surface. One of the first theories was that Elizabeth had been the victim of a random act of violence. Some speculated that a sadistic killer had taken advantage of her vulnerability, targeting her because she was an easy, unsuspecting victim. Others suggested that Elizabeth had crossed paths with someone dangerous, perhaps a stranger whose anger was ignited in a moment of madness. These initial theories gave way to more personal ones. The nature of the crime, the careful dismemberment, and the grotesque slashing of Elizabeth's mouth suggested a deeply personal motivation. Was she killed by someone she knew? A lover or a person from her past? Was there something about her life, hidden from the public, that led her to a violent end? Despite extensive investigations, the police struggled to identify a clear suspect. No concrete evidence was uncovered that could tie anyone definitively to the crime. The case grew colder, with each dead end leaving detectives feeling more and more disillusioned. Theories continued to grow wilder, but none held enough substance to lead to a breakthrough. The public too began to speculate, and the media frenzy added to the confusion, often muddying the waters rather than shedding light on the truth. Amid this frustration, one theory stood out as particularly compelling. Steve Hodel, a former LAPD detective, suggested that his own father, Dr. George Hodel, was responsible for Elizabeth's murder. Dr. George Hodel was a prominent physician in Los Angeles, well known in certain circles, and had connections to powerful figures in the city. Steve Hodel's suspicion grew after he discovered what he believed were disturbing clues linking his father to the crime. He went so far as to have cadaver dogs search his father's former residence, which allegedly alerted to the presence of human remains beneath the house. This eerie discovery, though it added weight to Steve's theory, was not enough to definitively prove his father's guilt. Despite the cadaver dog's alert, the police had no direct evidence that could connect Dr. George Hodel to Elizabeth Short's murder. Furthermore, the case remained open for years without any breakthrough, leaving many to wonder, was this simply a case of police incompetence, or was the truth closer than anyone could have imagined? Was the killer someone with intimate knowledge of the investigation? Someone with the ability to manipulate the direction of the inquiry? The Black Dahlia case has always been more than just a grisly murder. Over time, it evolved into a reflection of the darker side of Hollywood itself. Elizabeth Short's death wasn't a random act of violence. It was a disturbing symptom of the corruption, exploitation, and organized crime that thrived in post-war Los Angeles. Her murder mirrored the hidden, brutal undercurrents of a city built on dreams and the promise of stardom, where ambition could lead to fame, but also tragically to destruction. The Black Dahlia case fundamentally illuminates the perils encountered by women who sought fame in Hollywood. The city, known for its glitz and glamour, often turned a blind eye to the darker realities that lurked beneath its polished exterior. Elizabeth's dream became an unspoken cautionary tale, one that warned other young women about the price of ambition in a town where people were used and discarded as easily as they were built up. Hollywood wasn't just a dream factory, it was a world where the dreams of many were shattered, and those with too much ambition often found themselves caught in the web of exploitation. Hollywood's notorious studio system during the 1940s was deeply corrupt, and young actresses were frequently treated as little more than commodities. They were promised fame and fortune in exchange for their beauty and compliance, only to be discarded when they no longer served the industry's interests. Elizabeth Short, a woman caught up in the allure of Hollywood, was just one of many women who fell victim to this system. The dark side of the studio system had long been a subject of rumors and whispers. Was Elizabeth simply another victim of that exploitative system? Or was her murder an extreme form of the abuse many women suffered in the shadows of the silver screen? Many have speculated that Elizabeth's tragic end was a direct result of her involvement in Hollywood's hidden, dangerous world. She was known to have interacted with some of the most powerful and influential men in the city, and it's possible that she had crossed paths with someone who held the power to control her fate. Was Elizabeth targeted by a powerful figure within the entertainment industry? Or was her murder the result of a personal relationship gone horribly wrong? An affair with someone from the darker underbelly of Hollywood that spiraled into something far more sinister? The mystery of Elizabeth's death continues to be compounded by the unanswered questions surrounding her final days. New theories have surfaced over the years, suggesting that Elizabeth may have been involved in a secretive and dangerous network of figures connected to organized crime in Los Angeles. Some speculate the city's underworld and Hollywood elite may have used Elizabeth as a pawn in a larger power struggle. Could her murder have been the result of a rivalry between criminal figures? Or was it something even darker, an attempt to silence her after she had learned too much about the city's dangerous secrets? The truth behind Elizabeth's murder remains elusive, but what is clear is that her death encapsulates the chilling reality of the Hollywood system, a world where women were often victimized and forgotten, where power and fame were intertwined with corruption, where the pursuit of stardom could lead to a tragic, untimely end. As more theories continue to emerge, the mystery of Elizabeth Short's death only grows deeper, leaving us to question, was her murder merely the result of a random act of violence? Or was it part of a much larger, more sinister plot that remains hidden beneath the glittering surface of Hollywood? As the investigation dragged on, more and more bizarre stories began to emerge. Some believed Elizabeth had been murdered by someone she knew personally, someone she may have been involved with. Others suggested that Elizabeth was a victim of the many dangerous men who populated the criminal underworld of Los Angeles, using women for their own sadistic pleasures before discarding them. Still, others believed the murder was a result of some kind of organized crime, with Elizabeth becoming a casualty of a much larger game. Could the Black Dahlia murder be the result of a mob hit? Was Elizabeth simply in the wrong place at the wrong time? Perhaps the most bizarre theory, however, involved a man who claimed to have been a paper boy at the time of the murder. He described rushing to the crime scene and seeing the body, saying it was the first naked woman he had ever seen. The memory haunted him for the rest of his life, affecting everything from his relationships to his mental health. This seemingly innocent claim underscored the profound impact the Black Dahlia case had on those who lived through it. As the years passed, the Black Dahlia murder became a symbol of Los Angeles' dark side, its mix of fame, corruption, and unsolved mystery. Much like Jack the Ripper in London, Elizabeth Short's brutal death has become an enduring symbol of public fascination and fear. Writers like James Ellroy reimagined the crime in the Black Dahlia, turning the real-life tragedy into a fictionalized exploration of Hollywood's most shadowy secrets. The mystery captivated new generations, and the case has inspired films, documentaries, and crime tours that continue to draw interest from around the world. Elizabeth's death, still unsolved after more than 7 decades, stands as a reminder of the perilous intersection of fame and tragedy. The media frenzy that surrounded her murder, much like the hysteria around Jack the Ripper, turned Elizabeth into an icon of violence, obsession, and mystery. The media exposed Hollywood's glamorous facade as a dangerous place where women's dreams could quickly turn into nightmares. In a city built on reinvention, Elizabeth Short's legacy has remained a chilling part of Los Angeles' story, a haunting reminder of its darkest secrets that still fascinate and horrify to this day. The Black Dahlia murder is one of the most famous unsolved crimes in American history. It has become a part of the folklore of Los Angeles, a haunting reminder of the darker side of fame and Hollywood. The case remains open, but the chances of finding Elizabeth Short's killer seem slimmer with each passing year. Was the truth buried with the body, or is the killer still out there, hiding in the shadows? For now, the Black Dahlia case remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in the world. Its legacy is a mixture of tragedy, intrigue, and unanswered questions, and it's a mystery that continues to captivate new generations of true crime enthusiasts. But one thing is clear, Elizabeth Short will never be forgotten. What do you think happened to Elizabeth Short? Who do you think was behind the murder? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more spine-chilling true crime stories.